Hi everyone, I'm Callie from Asana by Callie, and today we're going to be going through a pre-ride equestrian flow class. This class is intended to be done right before you ride your horse. I am at the barn. I am dressed to ride. I'll get my horse in a minute to get going, but I'll be doing this class first. The class is intended to get your muscles activated and stretched out, loosened up, ready to go for your ride. Of course, that said, you can always do this class at home. That's totally fine. You can do it anytime, anywhere, but it is intended to be done before you ride to get the maximum benefit out of it. I am a registered yoga teacher with Yoga Alliance. I'm also an avid equestrian. I've been riding for many, many years, and so this is kind of the mix of my two passions in life, so I hope that it will be beneficial for you. Also, as we go through this class, I will be offering many variations throughout several of the poses. Please take the one that feels the best for you and your body. You don't have to look like me or be in the shape that I'm in. You can always stop at any of those bus stops along the way that feel good to you. If something doesn't feel quite right, skip the pose altogether, maybe come back to it later. Don't feel pressured to get in any of these poses if they don't feel good for you and your body. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. I have a mat here. You don't necessarily have to have a mat. You can use a towel, or if you have softer ground, you don't really need anything at all. You also won't need any props for this class. So we're just going to go ahead and get started on our mats. We are going to start in child's pose at the back of your mat. So you'll bring your big toe mounds together, your knees out a little bit wider, and then walk your hands out on the mat until your forehead rests on the mat. We're going to take a moment to just settle in, focus on our breathing. I know many of you are getting ready to ride your horses, and that's very exciting. But go ahead and just take this moment for yourself. Turn inward. Focus on your breathing, how your body is feeling. On your next inhale, breathe in deeply, fill all the way down into your belly. And then exhale, sigh it out through your mouth. Inhale, breathe in fully, fill your lungs all the way into your belly. Exhale, sigh it out. One more time, inhale, breathe in fully. Exhale, sigh it out. Now seal your lips, breathe in and out fully through your nose. On your next inhale, walk both hands over to the right side of your mat. Stack your left hand on top of your right hand. Tack your left hip back so you get a stretch in your left side body. Continue breathing deeply. And on your inhale, walk your hands back to center. Take one more moment here. Allow your forehead to rest on the mat, your hips to sit back on your heels. And on your next inhale, walk your hands over to the left side. Stack your right hand on top of your left. Tack your right hip back so you feel a stretch in your right side body. On your next inhale, walk your hands back to center, out long on the mat. Take one more moment here, resting your forehead. Continue breathing. And then slowly begin to crawl your fingertips forward on the mat until you come into puppy pose. You can take a moment to bring your knees back underneath your hips and then rest your forehead on the mat. So your arms are stretched out long, your forehead is on the mat, your hips are lifted. You should feel a stretch here through your shoulders, maybe through your chest. Continue breathing in and out deeply. On your next inhale, slowly begin to bring your fingertips back. We're going to stack our shoulders over top of our wrists, our hips over our knees, and set up into a tabletop position. And then on your next inhale, you're going to drop your low belly, lift your gaze, lift your chin, cow. Exhale, round your spine, send your heart between your shoulder blades, cat. Inhale for cow. Exhale, cat. Take 3 more following the pace of your own breath. Allowing your spine to loosen. And once you've finished your 3rd round, inhale back to a neutral spine in your tabletop position. We'll be staying in table for just a moment longer. On your inhale, bring your weight into your left knee and both hands. Float your right knee up so your foot is pointed toward the sky. You can flex your foot. Then we're going to open up our hip, take our right knee out to the side, and then lower back down. We're going to end up taking hip circles. Lift that knee again, swing out to the side with an open hip, knee back to the mat. One more time, knee up, hip open, knee back down to the mat. Now same thing, except this time we're going to go the other direction. So from your knees position on the mat, we're going to open straight out to the side, then lift up and back down to the mat. Again, knee out to the side, lift up and back down to the mat. Once more, knee to the side, hip open, lift up, back down to the mat. This time, rest your right knee on the mat. Allow it to take your weight. Lift your left knee. Let it hover. Inhale, up. Foot can flex up toward the sky. Then hip open and knee down. Again, foot up toward the sky. Hip open, knee down. Once more, up to the sky. Hip open, knee down. Now same thing, but reverse it. This time we're starting hip open, knee up and down. 2 more. Hip open, knee up and down. Last one. Hip open, knee up and down. Those hip circles are meant to loosen up your hips a little bit before you get on and get going on your horse. All right, so from your table, tuck your toes, lift your knees and float your hips to the sky for downward facing dog. You can stay in this short down dog or walk your hands out about 1 handprint in front to take a little bit of a longer stance. Once you're here, pedal your feet left and right, walk your dog a little bit. Allow some space to come into this pose. Don't worry if your heels don't reach the mat. Don't worry if your knees don't go straight. Wherever you are is the perfect place to be. And once you're ready, allow your body to come into stillness in your down dog. On your next inhale, roll forward into a plank, a high plank, and you can lower your knees down to the mat if you need to, but wherever you are, press through your hands, press through your shoulder blades so you're pushing the ground away as hard as you can and activate your core. We're going to be staying here for a few seconds. Your core should be working, your glutes should be working. You should begin to be shaking just a little bit and keep holding. Continue breathing in and out fully. Keep holding. We're going to hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, push away, 5, really push, 4, activate your core, 3, 2, and 1. Push your hips back up to the sky for downward facing dog. On your inhale, sweep your right leg high to the sky, as high as you can reach it. Point your toes. Keep your shoulders level. Exhale, bend your knees. Step your foot in between your thumbs. You can lower your left knee down to the ground, and then we're going to sweep our hands forward and up for a low crescent lunge. Now, in a normal yoga class, you might hear the cue to even go into a back bend here, but instead of that, I want you to lower your hands, feel your ribs, feel your hip bones, and then knit your ribs down so you set up a good neutral spine, just like you'll do when you're on your horse. Once you've found that neutral spine and your core is activated, you can raise your arms back up to the sky, ensuring that you don't go into that same back bend. If you do start to feel yourself arching back, then just re-lower your arms, set your hands on your ribs and your hips again, knit your ribs down, find that neutral spine before you raise your arms again. Wherever you are, begin to scoop slightly into your hips so you're opening up your back hip flexor. And then slowly bring your hands back down to the mat and start to walk them back. So we're going into half splits. Flex your right toes up to the sky. And instead of dumping into your left hip here, keep your hips raised and level. You can be up on your fingertips if you need to be. You can be up on your knee if you need to be. Wherever you find that you feel the stretch in your right hamstring, stay there. Do your best to find a neutral spine here as well instead of rounding. Continue breathing in and out fully. And then begin to bend into your right knee again so you come into a runner's lunge. Now here you can stay forward with your fingertips on the mat and scoop your hips forward so you begin to feel a stretch in your left hip flexor. And absolutely stay here if you feel it here. If you need just a little bit more, plant your left hand, sweep your right arm back behind you, flex through your left hamstring so your foot raises, and then reach back and catch your foot with your right hand. If you decide to go for this bind here, flex through your hamstring so that you're using the strength of your hamstring to pull your foot in and not just the strength of your arm. Wherever you are, continue breathing in and out fully. Work toward keeping a straight spine in whichever variation you're in. If you have the bind, flex through your hamstring, let go of your foot, but keep it where it is, and then slowly lower it back down to the mat. And return to the runner's lunge. From here, plant your hands on either side of your right foot. Retuck your left toes. Send your right foot high to the sky, three-legged down dog. Keep your shoulders level. And exhale, lower your right foot down to the mat. On your next inhale, sweep your left foot high to the sky, three-legged down dog. Keep your shoulders level, point your toes. Exhale, bend your knee, step it between your thumbs. Lower your right knee down to the mat, untuck your toes. And same thing here, we're doing a low crescent lunge on the left side, so sweep your hands forward and up. And again, instead of going into that back bend, instead of arching through your back, bring your hands down to your ribs, touch your ribs and your hips, knit your ribs down so that you engage your core and keep that neutral spine. Once you've found your neutral spine, you can sweep your arms back up to the sky and stay. If you find yourself wanting to go for that back bend again, simply come back to your beginning. Come back to feeling your body with your hands and set yourself back up. Wherever you are, slowly begin to scoop forward with your hips so you feel a stretch in the front of your left or your right hip flexor. Exhale and lower your hands back down to the mat. Walk them back, half splits on the left leg, left toes pointed up to the sky. Same thing here, instead of dumping into your right hip, keep your hips level. And here you can also be on your fingertips, or maybe you even come up to your thigh. Wherever you feel this stretch, stay there. Do your best to keep that straight, neutral spine wherever you are. And then inhale and slowly begin to walk your hands forward, surrounding your front foot for this runner's lunge. Same thing as the other side. You can stay here in this runner's lunge, scoop your hips forward and allow that hip flexor to open. Or you can plant your right hand, sweep your left hand back behind you, flex through your hamstring of your right leg, and then catch your foot. Same thing on this side. You want to use the strength of your hamstring and your glute more than you pull with your hand. The hand is a simple encourager. Continue breathing in and out deeply wherever you are. And do your best to keep your spine straight, whichever variation you're in. If you're in this bind, flex through your hamstring. Keep your foot where it is, but let go with your hand. Slowly begin to lower your foot back down to the mat and bring your hand back to the front so it's surrounding your front foot. Retuck your back toes and then step back to three-legged downward facing dog. Keep your shoulders square and then lower your left foot down to the mat to downward facing dog. You can begin to pedal your feet left and right here. Walk your dog a little bit. And then slowly, with the same pedaling motion, begin to tiptoe your way to the front of the mat. Forward fold at the front of your mat. You can bend your knees here as much as you need to so that your fingertips are still on the mat. On your inhale, come up to a neutral spine for a half lift. Make your spine as straight as possible. Exhale and fold forward. Allow your spine to round. Then slowly begin to stack one vertebrae of your spine on each other at a time. Roll your way up to Tadasana, to standing, all the way at the front of your mat. Once you're standing, allow yourself a moment to reconnect to your breathing. And then take your feet out wide, a little wider than hips distance, and angle your toes out ever so slightly. We're going to be going into a squat position here. I encourage you to take the variation that's best for you, to do the one that feels the best and not push it too much here on your first day. On your inhale, sweep your hands high overhead. Slowly begin to bend your knees and set your hips back. We're going into that squat that I mentioned. If you feel any discomfort here in your knees, ankles, or even your hips, stop and just hold the squat where you can. If it feels good, lower all the way down into a malasana squat so your hips meet the back of your heels. Wherever you are, focus on having a straight spine. We're going to hold for just a moment. Push into your feet evenly. And again, if you feel any discomfort in your ankles, knees, or hips, come out just a little bit of the position. This can be a very uncomfortable one for the first time. Continue breathing in and out fully. And then slowly from wherever you are, begin to make your way down to the mat so you're sitting on your bum. As slowly as you can from wherever you are, however you get there is good. Once you're sitting on your bum, you can readjust a little bit so you're sitting in the middle of your mat. We're going to come into Baddha Konasana, bound angle. So bring your knees out wide, feet together. So your legs make this little diamond shape. And then instead of folding over, which you would do in many yoga classes, go ahead and sit up as tall as you can, setting up that big, straight, neutral spine that you're going to be using when you're riding later. You can put your hands on your ankles, that's where I prefer mine to be, and just sit tall. Once you've found your straight spine, use the outside muscles of your thighs to really pull your knees out wide. So we're not pushing with the external force of our hands or our elbows. Instead, we're using muscular engagement from the outside of our thighs to pull our knees down. Or if you'd rather think about it as lengthening your inner thigh, whichever one makes the most sense to you. Continue sitting straight. And then release that, let that go. Allow your knees to come back in. Hug them, give them a little squeeze. Now we're going to be going into a little bit of core activation. Get your tummy muscles ready for your ride. So go ahead and bring your fingertips behind your hips and stay here if this feels good. Otherwise, if you need a little bit more, lift your feet off the mat and allow your knees to be bent, your shins parallel to the mat. If this feels good, stay here or bring your hands parallel to your shins. This is high boat. Stay here. If you want just a little bit more, straighten through your legs. All right, we're going to be going into high boat and low boat variations. So slowly on your exhale, begin to straighten your legs and lay back for low boat. Then inhale back to high. Exhale for low boat. Inhale back to high. That was 2. We're doing 5. Exhale to low boat. Inhale to high. 3. And 2. Last 1. Low boat and high boat. Allow your feet to meet the mat. You can give your legs a little squeeze here. And then take your legs, lengthen them out on the mat. Sit up tall, make your heels squeeze down into the mat. Bring your arms parallel to your legs. And last little bit of core work, guys, I promise. We're going to slowly lower all the way to the mat as slow as possible. Keep your heels grounded. Keep breathing deeply. And when you find that spot that's just a little bit shaky, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale and lower down. Once you're on your back, bend your knees, allow your feet to meet the earth, and then cross your right ankle over the top of your left knee for pigeon, reclined pigeon. You can stay here and actively work on pulling your, using your outer thigh muscles to pull your knee out. And stay here if this feels good. Same thing as that bound angle pose. We're not going to push with our hands. We're going to use our activation from our muscles to get the stretch. If this feels good and you want just a little bit more, lift your left foot off the mat, clasp your hands around your left thigh, and bring it a little closer. Wherever you are, continue flexing through your right foot and pulling out with your outer thigh muscles. Stay. Continue breathing deeply. And exhale and slowly lower everything back down to the mat, both feet to the mat. Same thing, other side, cross your left ankle over top of your right knee and work on pulling your knee out wide using your outside of your thigh. If this feels good, stay here. Otherwise, if you need a little bit more, bring your right foot off the mat, clasp your hands around your right thigh, and get a little bit more stretch that way. No matter where you are, flex through your left foot, pull that knee out wide with the activation of your muscles on the left side. Slowly begin to lower back down to the mat. Allow everything to lower. And then stretch your legs out long on the mat. On your inhale, pull your right knee in towards your chest. Give it a little squeeze. Pull it in. You can take it a little outside of your rib cage if that feels good. And then begin to slowly take it across your body for a twist. Your right arm will go out into a T. Your right shoulder stays planted. And your right knee twists. Stay here if this feels good, or if you'd rather, you can straighten through your right leg as well. See if there's anywhere that you can release tension on your body. See if there's anywhere that you're holding. Let it go. Slowly bring your right knee back to center. Give it one more good little squeeze. And then send it out long. Bring your left knee in. Pull your left knee into your chest. Give it a little squeeze. You can take it outside of your rib cage if that feels good. And then slowly begin to take it over to the right side. Left arm out to a T. Shoulder stays planted. And same thing on this side. See where you can release tension, where you can let it go. See where you're holding. Slowly inhale that leg back up to center. Give it another good squeeze into your chest and send it out long. At the end of a yoga class, we always do what's called a savasana, which is just a final resting pose. We're going to go into a 2-minute savasana here. If you have time to join me, please do. Allow this time to turn inward, to focus on your body, on your breath. Close your eyes if that feels good. Allow your heels to fall out. Palms up to the sky. Focus on your breathing. Allow yourself to simply be. Slowly bring your awareness back to your breath, back to your body on the mat, resting heavily. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Circle your wrists and your ankles. Allow life to return to your extremities. When you're ready, stretch both arms up overhead, point your toes. Take a good morning stretch. And then bend your knees, pull them into your chest for one final hug. Slowly roll onto your left side. You can use your left bicep as a pillow. And then begin to make your way up into a seat. You can keep your chin bowed, your eyes closed, and bring your hands to heart center. At the end of a yoga class, you always hear people say the word namaste, and that means that the light within me sees and honors the light within you. And that is very true today. Thank you for joining me for this practice. Thank you for joining me on this journey, your yoga journey and your equestrian journey. I hope you have a wonderful ride today. I hope you have a great week. And from my heart to yours, namaste.